Now we're going to go to Ohio State's 8th game of the season here. This is against USC. This is on the road, back-to-back road games for the Buckeyes. Now going to Los Angeles to the Coliseum to take on the Trojans, which are a really trendy pick. They're a trendy pick to get to the college football playoff. They're a trendy pick to make noise in the Big Ten. And I have seen some people talking about, hey, this is a trendy pick to go ahead and clip the Buckeyes. Now, Jalen Maiava's back. Lincoln Riley. Grant, why has he caught heat during his tenure at USC? Because the defense hasn't been great. That defense, though, the problems are supposedly gone away. So when USC hosts the Buckeyes, second leg of a back-to-back road trip for the Buckeyes, potentially coming off of what we both have as a win against Indiana, so an emotional road win for the Buckeyes. Grant, how does this game shake up for Ohio State when you see this? Yes, there was an open date between Indiana and USC, but again, you're traveling all the way out west, coming off of Indiana. Oregon's waiting next week. The dynamic spot in this game is not ideal for Ohio State.
Yeah, it's I think it is. You have Indiana, USC, and Oregon. That is the murderer's row. That's when everyone looks at Ohio State's schedule, that's when they say, oh, this might be the hardest schedule in the country. The bye week, it is helpful. I think obviously if they didn't have the bye week, if they were going to Indiana and to Los Angeles in back-to-back weeks, that would just be hellish for college kids to go through. So the bye week will be very helpful. But at the end of the day, it's 3 straight games against 3 very good opponents and a road game all the way across the country against a supposedly improved USC team. They're going to have their hands full. It's going to be another game where Ohio State's going to be in a 4-quarter battle, and they're probably going to have to find a way to pull away in the 4th quarter. The defensive issues for USC, they were there last year. I think people were starting to get really tired of Lincoln Riley's defensive issues. Specifically USC fans and so on and so forth. But they were 91st in giving up explosive rushes. They were 115th in the country in QB completion percentage, and 82nd in yards per carry. So they were just making it entirely too easy for teams to move the ball on them. So even if they did have a good offense, even if Jaden Mavia was a Heisman candidate, they were giving up too many points, and they didn't have the ball enough to be able to control the game. So like you said, it's supposed to be shored up this year. They went out and they have 3 returning defensive linemen. They got Penn State starter and Zariah Fisher. They signed the number 1 DN in the country, Luke Waffle. I don't know, not totally sure how to pronounce that, but. With the experience coming back and some of the additions they've added, obviously they're looking to improve upon that defense to a point where their offense can start to shine and make a difference into the game. Because, Jaden Mavia, if he takes another step, that dude is a top 3 Heisman candidate in a heartbeat. The only thing he has to shore up is the picks, because he had 10 last year. And if you're playing Ohio State and you're giving them the ball, they're going to walk out of there with a win any day of the week. So, it's not a terrible pick. I'm not saying people are crazy for picking USC. If they do improve on defense with Mavia coming back, Lincoln Riley having his hands on an offense and a quarterback like that, this is a really good team. And in the Coliseum, anything can happen. So, not one of those games, especially after playing Indiana, where you can be too confident in Ohio State winning easily.
It's true. And when I see this USC team, I look at a team last year that lost a lot of running back depth because of injuries. They ended up relying on a walk-on to close the season. Jade Maiava is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country. But again, who's he going to throw to? Because Mekhi Lemon, the Blitnikoff Award winner, is off to the NFL playing for the Eagles, where they brought in Tanook Hines and Terrell Anderson. That's going to lead to a retooled wide receiver room for USC. But that doesn't mean they're not going to be able to distribute the football. It's just going to look different. And if you're going to have to trust an offensive unit or a defensive unit on a Lincoln Riley coach team, Grant, by unanimous show of hands, we're going to trust the offensive unit. when you look at USC. So I do think that USC's offense is going to be fine, and I think they're going to find a way to become dangerous. But what's going to make USC different than years ago is the addition of Gary Patterson as your defensive coordinator now. He was at TCU for a long time, and this is going to be the best defensive coordinator that Lincoln Riley's had in a while. Now, there's a match zone scheme that is going to be around a defensive line that returns most of its starters. But since we've made trenches such a big talking point on this show, Grant, USC returns all 5 offensive linemen. That's a big stat, okay? For USC to take this step forward, they return a lot in the trenches, and that's been a place they have been bullied in previous years. So I like USC to be a better team. I like them to be an improved team. I don't think they have enough to beat Ohio State, but I do think this game is going to be one that is one of those like type of games for Ohio State. They escape the Coliseum with a win, and I think that is exactly what it's going to be. I think it's going to be an escape of the Coliseum here on Halloween.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an uglier win for Ohio State. That point in the season after an emotional win, even if it is after a bye week, you're heading way out west to play a team that is waiting for you, chomping at the bit to play you. I think Ohio State has the edge, and after 4 quarters, they win the game, but it's not going to be an easy one.
All right, so we're both taking Ohio State to win, which means the Buckeyes still have just 1 loss.